video, I made 3 games in the first version of Scratch. Make sure you stick until the end, because the last game is something. Alright, so I guess I have to actually come up with a game idea to make. So I decided to make a cat and mouse game, and I got started off by trying to find a mouse in the Scratch library. That's an elephant, and that's an octopus. Not quite what we're looking for. There's a mouse. For coding, I started off by scaling down the mouse and just adding in a loop that would always make the mouse go towards the mouse pointer. Later, I can even reuse this code and modify it for the cat. As you can see here, I started testing to see if it was that easy and if the game was indeed done, but it did not function as I wanted it to, so I decided to add a few more things, like an actual way to end the game. Now that the game is finished, here's a bit of gameplay. This is a very simple game, but remember, this is only the first of 3 games. For the next game, I decided to make a simple shooter game. So I just started off with the code for the cat, and I decided to give it some WASD movement. I finished that up and it looks nice, doesn't it? But now that we've finished that, I need to find a character to be the villain. I could not figure out what I should use till I settled on a snowman. Now I decided to work on the code for him, and I'm just going to add in some movement similar to what we saw in the cat in the previous game. Next, I made the cat go to a random position when the game starts. And yes, I forgot about the go to random position block. I quickly drew a gun, which then I started coding. I simply made it go to the cat and point in the correct direction, and if you click down on your mouse, it will fire the bullet. The bullet which I quickly made and gave this code to. Now that the game is finished, it's time to test it a little bit, and it's not the most amazing game and doesn't work perfectly, but it's fine for being made in the original version of Scratch. And now it's time for game 3, which is going to be a Flappy game. Remember this game we made in the very first video of the channel? Well, I mean, if you haven't watched it, go check it out. After you finish this one, of course. But we made a basic Flappy Bird game. The problem with making it in Scratch 1.4 is there are no clones. Guess I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. So I just started off by coding our actual player. Now, I don't know what it's going to look like yet. I haven't picked out a costume for it. But right now, I am just making it so it can go up and down. But the problem with this is it can go up infinitely. So I just have to add a few checks to make sure that it can only go up once and then you release space. I don't know if the way I have now done it is the most efficient way to do it, but it is what I ended up with. Now I just tried to find a costume for it. I could not find anything I really liked, but then I settled on Fish 2 here, and yeah, that's looking a bit big, so let's change that, maybe, do we say 30% size? 30%? Does that look good? No, let's go 40%. And yeah, that's looking nice. And that is some smooth movement there. We got the movement good and the size good. And now that we are done with the player, it's time to make the pipes. So I started off just by drawing them and adding the little thing on top. And remember when I said we couldn't use clones? Yeah, we're just going to have one pipe on screen at any time. But anyways, I'm starting with the code. I will make the pipe go all the way to the right and pick a random height so it's slightly different. Then I just added in the code to make it go to the left. I think the code is done for it, so let's just try it out. And well, the pipes are moving very slow and I feel like the player is jumping too much. Yeah, let's change those 2 things. And now we're just going to change the player's jumping and the speed of the pipes. Now it looks like they are working quite well indeed, and we need to add one more thing, the score. So I'll quickly set the score to 0 at the beginning, and every single time the pipe reaches all the way to the edge, it will change the score by 1. But if the pipe touches the player, we need to stop everything. Now that we've done that, what I needed to do in the player code is make it so if we are touching the edge, we stop everything. I accidentally set it to sprite 1, but, I think I'd fix it later. And now it's working great. It's working pretty flawlessly. I'm going to add a quick title screen, and then I will see you in the showcase.